Hello friends! In today's video we're going to look at how we can invest in PewDiePie. Now you might think, but he's not a company, not even a stock traded company. So how would one invest in him? Well, you're correct about that. But in today's video I will show you ways in how you can get exposure to the business that is PewDiePie. So stick around. So PewDiePie, or Felix as he is called, makes a lot of money. Of course, only he knows how much money he earns, and rightfully so. It's not our business, but we are curious, so we will try and get some numbers. In 2014, the Wall Street Journal estimated his earnings to be around $4 million in 2013, and he later spoke about this estimate in a video, confirming that it was reasonably accurate. But of course, this was in 2013. Since then, he has co-hosted a series, Broken, on NLG TV. He created the channel on the YouTube Red platform and released a book, This Book Loves You, in late October 2015. Besides making YouTube videos, he also has a big following on Twitter and on Instagram, which in itself gives a pretty steady stream of revenue. He also runs an online store selling t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, hats and hoodies to his fans. And the company Outer Minds also built a couple of computer games around his character, which were widely popular. Besides these, he also has a few exclusive contracts for promoting merch, like the Clutch chair, his Ghost keyboard, the G-Full collaboration, and lately he's been wearing an Olo headphone, just to name a few. Besides these, he has his own clothing brand called Tsuki, and another clothing brand called Based. And of course there is YouTube. This should be as no surprise. Not only with the ads you see before every video, but with the YouTube membership deal, he racks in a lot of money. Besides that, almost all his videos have a sponsored segment, like the NordVPN deal. So all these things combined give him an alleged income of around 12 million a year. This number will of course be wrong, but it's safe to say he's a well-run business that's not about to go bankrupt anytime soon. What his net worth is right now, nobody, except for Felix and Marsha, know. There are people guessing his net worth on the internet, but they range from 20 million to a net worth of more than 100 million. But now that we found out his revenue streams, let's go over them to find out if we can get a piece of the pie. In social media, Twitter and Instagram are the most obvious. Twitter is no longer a public traded company, but a playhouse for Mr. Elon Musk. Then there is Instagram, which is part of the Meta company, ticker symbol META. Of course, PewDiePie only makes up a very small portion of the revenue Meta creates. But if you want a small exposure into the business that is PewDiePie, you can get into Meta stock and maybe also have the benefits or risk of the entire company. We'll make a video about Meta later, so be sure to subscribe if you don't want to miss that. Next we have his online store that works via Represent. Represent is now part of Cameo since October last year, so we need to look into Cameo. Cameo is a private company, so we have to get creative in getting exposure. The first thing we could do is buying shares of its investors. Some of its investors include Google Ventures, Amazon's Alexa Fund, Lightspeed, and even Tony Hawk, just to name a few. In the last investment round, Cameo got a valuation of just over $1 billion. So there are only a few companies that trade in the stock exchange that invested into this company. The ones that stand out the most is Google or Alphabet, Amazon and SoftBank. You could buy any of these and the same rule applies to this as to social media. You get a bit of exposure and the benefits or risk of the company you buy stocks from. The second thing we can do is go via a pre-IPO marketplace, like this example of EquityZen. I've covered these in more depth in my OpenAI video, go check that one out for links to these companies in the description of that video. But basically, you can buy stocks here of companies that haven't yet done their IPO. But I must also warn you, only after you register, you will truly know if the stocks are available or not. Plus, most of the time, you have to be a registered investor and or have a minimum of say $10,000 to $100,000 ready to invest. Okay, so we covered social media and merchandise. A third thing was his lucrative mobile games that were developed by Outer Minds. Now Outer Minds is an independent studio from Montreal, Canada. As far as I can find, they have no investors backing them up, so there is no way to get exposure to this part of the PewDiePie empire. We can also have a look at his book. Now this is stretching it, I know, but just for the sake of being complete, I will add this. His book named This Book Loves You is published by Penguin Books. Now we get into a bit of a rabbit hole here. Penguin Books has a parent company, Penguin Random House, a company that is a result of the merger between Penguin and Random House. Now Penguin Random House is owned by a company called Bertelsmann, which is one of the world's largest media conglomerates, having divisions like Penguin, but also RTL Group, BMG, Arvato, and so forth. But it doesn't end there. Bertelsmann is then again owned by Bertelsmann Stiftung, a non-profit company. So as you can see, the corporate structure is complex, but where it all boils down to is that we can't buy any shares of the company that publishes this book. Next, we have the products he promotes. We'll start with G Fuel, the caffeinated drink mix, and this is apparently sold by a company called Gamma Labs. There is almost no information to be found on this company, but basically the only product they make and sell is G Fuel. Also, no information on investors, so it seems like outer minds. It's a bust. Another thing he promotes are the clutch chairs and ghost keyboards. Both I think are made by the same company because they basically share a web page, but I could be wrong about this. Their about page is very informative, but again, from what I can find, no investors, so no way to get in on any action. The final thing, before we get to the obvious one, is his own clothing brands. As for Tsuki, the only thing I could find is that most of their products are made in Toronto, Canada, and not Japan as you might think when you visit the site. And some are shipped from the UK, but no information on what company actually make these products in the factory. Then there is Based. On a side note, I love this site. From a technical perspective, it's awesome. Even the domain extension GG is perfection. But when we try and find out who makes these clothes, it's the same as with Tsuki. We find out they ship from the UK, but that's about it. So we once again run a dead end. There we had all revenue streams except for the most obvious one, namely YouTube. Now, as we all know, YouTube is a part of Google, or Alphabet as the parent company is called. Now YouTube was bought in late 2016 for $1.6 billion. Back then it was considered a crazy amount, but if we look at the number for 2021, YouTube generated a revenue of $28.8 billion, a 46% increase year over year. 2.5 billion people access YouTube once a month. These numbers are just staggering and really justify the then crazy amount Alphabet paid. Now getting exposure to YouTube is easy, you just need to buy Alphabet stock. And to me I think this is the best way to go about getting exposure to Felix's empire. Not only is Alphabet in my opinion a great company where I can make and will make a whole video about, PewDiePie has been and is a great ambassador for YouTube as a whole. When you think PewDiePie, you think YouTube. So this is definitely the way to go. Also, if you want the easiest way to get the maximum exposure to everything Felix does, Alphabet is, all things considered, the best fit. Not only does it own YouTube, the platform that made him famous, but it also has via Google Ventures, as we saw a couple of topics ago, an interest into Cameo. So this is what makes Alphabet such a great deal. I was really hoping when I started making this video that there would be more ways to get exposure to PewDiePie. And to be honest, maybe you are a bit disappointed about the outcome, but so am I. But on the other hand, it's a fun experiment and also gives an interesting insight into the money stream that is Felix Kjellberg. So that was my take on the PewDiePie company. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe for more videos, this helps out the channel a lot. And let me know in the comments down below if you can think of other ways to invest into Felix's or any other YouTuber, for that matter, his business. And if you were disappointed like me, also let me know. Catch you next time. See ya.